A retired nurse paid $800 out of pocket for a medical flight last year. A 71-year-old veteran sat in a middle seat for 6 hours when a fully funded business class ticket was waiting for him, unclaimed. And a widow in Phoenix paid full price for airport wheelchair assistance that federal law says she never owed a dime for. These aren't edge cases. Every single day, seniors across America leave government travel money sitting on the table because nobody told them it existed. Today, that changes. Here's something that took me longer than I'd like to admit to fully understand. The United States government has quietly built an entire infrastructure of travel benefits for people over 60, not just discounts, not just suggestions, actual funded programs, federal mandates, and legal entitlements that cover everything from the ride to the airport, to the seat on the plane, to the hotel room when your flight gets canceled. And not a single one of them comes with a brochure in your mailbox. Why? Because funded benefits cost money. Every dollar the government or an airline pays out under these programs is a dollar they'd rather keep. So the programs exist, buried in federal registries, agency websites, and airline policy documents that run 40, 50, sometimes 100 pages long. They're real, they're legal, they're yours. They're just waiting for someone to ask. I've spent months going through the documentation so you don't have to, and I want to be upfront with you. Some of these surprised even me. Number 4 genuinely stopped me in my tracks. I had to reread it twice. And number 6, there's a specific phrase, 4 words, that unlocks a federal commitment airlines have already made in writing. Most passengers hand that power back to the airline without ever knowing they had it. We're going through all 7 today, the exact programs, who qualifies, how to claim them, and the words to say. Let's get into it. Benefit number 1. VA travel pay. The veterans. Benefit most vets never claim. Let me start with the one that genuinely frustrates me the most, because the people who earn this benefit most are the ones claiming it least. If you are a veteran who travels to VA medical appointments, the federal government will reimburse your travel costs. Not sometimes, not maybe, as a structured, funded program called the Beneficiary Travel Program, administered by the Department of Veterans Affairs, and according to internal VA data, tens of thousands of eligible veterans skip the reimbursement process every single year, not because they don't qualify, but because nobody at the front desk mentioned it on the way out. A quick word before we go on. As we get older, flying doesn't have to become more stressful or more expensive. There are free airline services, seat upgrades, airport assistance, and simple travel tricks that many seniors never realize they're entitled to. I've gathered 101 of the most useful airline secrets into a book called The Ultimate Senior Air Travel Bible. I won't mention it again. If you'd like to pick up a copy, you'll find the link in the description. Here's how it works. If you travel to a VA facility for a covered medical appointment, you are entitled to mileage reimbursement at the current federal rate. As of 2026, that rate sits at 41.5 cents per mile. Doesn't sound like much until you do the math. A veteran driving 40 miles each way to a VA appointment twice a month is leaving over $65 on the table every single month. That's nearly $800 a year in reimbursements. Already funded, already approved, just never claimed. But here's where it gets even more important. The Beneficiary Travel Program doesn't stop at mileage. If you cannot drive yourself due to a medical condition, the VA will arrange and fully fund what's called special mode transportation. That means a wheelchair van, a medical transport vehicle, and in cases where the required treatment is only available far from your home, air travel. Covered fully, including meals and lodging if an overnight stay is required. A 73-year-old veteran from rural Montana needed a specific cardiac procedure only available at a VA facility in Seattle. Round-trip airfare, one-night hotel, ground transport on both ends. The VA paid for all of it. He told me afterward that he'd assumed it would be a fight. It wasn't. It was a phone call. Here's your action plan. Call your nearest VA medical center and ask specifically about the beneficiary travel program before your next appointment, not after. You can also file for reimbursement through the Access VA travel portal online within 30 days of your appointment. Bring your appointment documentation and odometer reading if you're claiming mileage. The magic phrase, I'd like to file for beneficiary travel reimbursement for today's appointment. Can you connect me with the travel office? Most VA facilities have a travel clerk on site. Most veterans never find them. Now you will. Benefit number 2, Medicare-covered medical transport, not just ambulances. When most people hear Medicare covers transportation, they picture an ambulance, lights, sirens, someone unconscious. That's the version Medicare advertises because it's the version that costs them the least. Here's what Medicare, specifically Medicare Advantage plans, quietly covers and counts on you not investigating non-emergency medical transportation, NEMT, as it's called in the policy documents, rides to and from covered medical appointments, not ambulances, everyday transportation, cars, vans, sometimes even ride-share services through contracted providers. A 68-year-old woman in Houston had been paying for Uber rides to her oncology appointments for 14 months. 14 months. When her daughter finally called the Medicare Advantage plan directly and asked about non-emergency medical transport, the representative confirmed she'd been eligible the entire time. They arranged a covered ride for her next appointment within 48 hours. Now, I want to be clear with you here because the details matter and I'm not going to gloss over them. Traditional Medicare, Original Medicare Parts A and B, does not broadly cover non-emergency transportation, but Medicare Advantage plans, which are the private plans that have replaced Original Medicare for more than half of all Medicare recipients, are required to offer transportation as a supplemental benefit. The coverage varies by plan. Some cover a set number of rides per year. Some cover rides only to specific appointment types. A few are more generous. Here's the part that trips people up. You have to call your specific Medicare Advantage plan and ask. The benefit exists inside the plan. It does not announce itself. One phone call to the member services number on the back of your card is all it takes to find out exactly what you're covered for. And if you or someone you know doesn't have Medicare Advantage but needs help getting to medical appointments, there's a federal program called the Medicaid Non-Emergency Medical Transportation Benefit that covers transportation for Medicaid-eligible seniors completely separately, completely funded, also almost never mentioned, at the appointment desk, your action plan. Call the member services number on your Medicare Advantage card. Ask specifically about non-emergency medical transportation benefits for covered appointments. Get the answer in writing or ask for the benefit to be confirmed by email. The magic phrase, I'd like to understand my non-emergency medical transportation benefit. What's covered, how many trips, and how do I schedule one? Simple question, potentially hundreds of dollars saved every single year. Benefit number 3, the ADA mandated airport assistance. Nobody volunteers. This one is not a perk. I want to be precise about that because the word perk implies something optional, something generous, something the airline is doing you a favor by providing. What I'm about to describe is a federal legal requirement. There is a meaningful difference. Under the Air Carrier Access Act, a federal law that's been on the books since 1986, by the way, almost 40 years, and people still don't know about it, airlines are required to provide free assistance to any passenger with a disability who requests it. And here is the part the airline lobby would rather you skim past. You do not need a diagnosis. You do not need documentation. You do not need a doctor's note or a disability certification or a letter from anyone. You self-identify. That's the legal standard. You tell the airline you need assistance, and they are federally required to provide it. What does that assistance actually look like? Wheelchair service from curb to gate, escort through security, priority boarding before general boarding begins with one travel companion at no additional cost, help stowing carry-on bags, transportation between gates for connections, even tight ones. And if your mobility aid, your wheelchair, your walker, your cane, is damaged by the airline during the flight, they are required by law to repair or replace it at their expense. Now here's the part that never gets mentioned at the gate. Every U.S. airline is required to have a complaint resolution official, a CRO, available at every airport they serve, every single hour they operate. This is a trained federal compliance officer whose entire job is resolving disputes about passenger rights on the spot, not tomorrow, not through a customer service email, on the spot. A 66-year-old woman in Charlotte was told by a gate agent that wheelchair assistance was unavailable for her connection. She asked for the complaint resolution official by name. Within 6 minutes, a supervisor appeared, the wheelchair was located, and she made her connection with time to spare. The gate agent had simply hoped she wouldn't know that phrase. Your action plan. Request assistance when booking. Reconfirm 48 hours before departure. If anything is denied at the airport, do not argue with the gate agent. Escalate immediately. The magic phrase, "I'd like to speak with your complaint resolution official, please." 4 words that carry the full weight of federal law behind them. Benefit number 4. State-funded senior transportation programs. Okay, this is the one that stopped me, because I knew versions of this existed. I did not know how extensive it actually was until I started digging. Under the Older Americans Act, federal legislation originally passed in 1965 and reauthorized multiple times since, every state in the country is required to fund a network of area agencies on aging. There are over 600 of them across the United States, and buried inside their service mandates is something almost no one talks about: transportation assistance for seniors, not just rides to the doctor, transportation assistance, which in many states and many counties includes rides to airports, rides to transportation hubs, in some programs, reimbursement for travel costs associated with family reunification, medical care, or relocation. The specific services vary significantly by location, and I mean significantly. What's available in Maricopa County, Arizona, is different from what's available in rural Mississippi, but the funding exists everywhere because the federal mandate requires it. Here's what a lot of seniors don't realize. These programs are not just for low-income seniors, though income can affect what tier of service you qualify for. Many area agencies on aging provide transportation services to any senior over 60 in their coverage area, full stop. A 74-year-old man in suburban Ohio needed to get to a major airport 2 hours away for a flight to visit his daughter recovering from surgery. He called his local area agency on aging expecting nothing. They arranged a round-trip ride to the airport at no cost. He cried when he told me that story, and honestly, I get it. Your action plan. Go to eldercare.acl.gov. That's the official federal eldercare locator, and type in your zip code. It will connect you directly to your local area agency on aging. Call them and ask specifically what transportation assistance is available for seniors in your area and whether airport transportation is included. This benefit is hiding in plain sight inside a government website that most people only find when someone points them directly at it. Consider yourself pointed. Benefit number 5. Social Security travel reimbursements for medical evaluations. I'll be honest with you, when I first came across this one, I almost cut it from the list. I thought it was too narrow, too specific, too unlikely to apply to enough people watching this video. I was wrong, and I'm glad I went back and read the fine print. If you receive Social Security disability benefits, either SSI or SSDI, and the Social Security Administration schedules you for a consultative medical examination, which they do regularly to verify ongoing eligibility, they are required to reimburse your travel costs to attend that exam. Mileage if you drive, bus fare if you take public transit. In some cases, more substantial transportation costs if the exam location requires significant travel from where you live. Now here's the part that makes me want to flip a table. You have to ask for it. The reimbursement does not show up automatically. It doesn't come in the same envelope as your appointment notice. The Social Security Administration processes it through a standard travel reimbursement form that most recipients never see because most recipients never know to ask for it. They attend the exam, pay their own way, drive home, and assume that was just the cost of doing business with the federal government. It isn't. It never was. And the benefit is broader than just consultative exams. Anytime the Social Security Administration requires you to appear in person, a medical evaluation, a mandatory eligibility review, or a hearing before an administrative law judge for a disability appeal, your travel costs to get there are reimbursable. Administrative law judge hearings in particular can involve real distance. Hearing offices aren't always conveniently located, and for seniors in rural areas, attending one can mean a significant trip. A 63-year-old woman in rural Louisiana drove over 90 miles each way to attend her disability hearing, paid for her own gas, didn't think twice about it. When her attorney mentioned afterward that the travel was fully reimbursable, she went quiet for a moment. Then she said she was equal parts relieved and furious. Relieved the money existed. Furious that in the entire lead up to that hearing, not one person at the Social Security Administration had mentioned it to her. Not one. Your action plan is simple, but the timing is everything. Before your appointment, not after, not on the way home, before. Call your local SSA office and ask directly about travel reimbursement. The magic phrase, "I have a required appointment scheduled. I'd like to understand what travel reimbursement is available before I travel." Before. That single word is the difference between getting paid and getting nothing. Benefit number 6, the airline passenger rights, backed by federal law. Here is where I need you to pay close attention because this one involves a written commitment, not a policy suggestion, not a customer service guideline, a written legal commitment filed with the United States Department of Transportation, and airlines are counting on you handing it back to them without ever reading it. Since late 2024, federal rules require that when an airline cancels your flight or makes a significant change, and significant has a specific legal definition, and you choose not to accept the rebooking they offer, you are entitled to a full cash refund, not a travel voucher, not airline credit, cash, back to your original payment method. Before this rule, airlines handed out vouchers by default, and most passengers accepted them because they didn't know cash was an option. That era is over. The rule is in effect. Airlines just haven't updated their scripts to lead with it. But there's more. Every major U.S. carrier has also committed in writing. You can verify this on the Department of Transportation's Airline Customer Service dashboard, which is publicly available, to providing meal vouchers when a controllable delay exceeds 3 hours and hotel accommodations plus ground transportation when a controllable delay results in an overnight stay. Controllable means the airline caused it. Mechanical issues, crew problems, scheduling failures, not weather. Weather is a different category. The word controllable is the key that unlocks the commitment. Most passengers at a delayed gate ask, "What's happening?" Gate agents give a vague answer. Passengers sit down and nobody claims anything. The passengers who walk up and use the right language get an entirely different response. A 69-year-old retired teacher was stranded in Denver for 6 hours due to a mechanical delay. She approached the counter calmly and said 7 words. The agent's expression changed. She left with a $50 meal voucher, a hotel room, and a confirmed seat on the first flight out the next morning. 7 words. Your action plan. When your flight is delayed, go to the counter and ask directly whether the delay is controllable. That word is your signal. The magic phrase, "Is this a controllable delay? I'd like the meal voucher and hotel your airline committed to," on the DOT dashboard. read that back, memorize it, write it on your hand if you have to. That sentence, delivered calmly, is worth hundreds of dollars. Benefit number 7, property tax relief programs. That fund, senior travel assistance. And here is the one nobody talks about, partially because it varies so much by state that it's hard to make a clean national statement about it, but I'm including it because for the seniors it applies to, it's genuinely significant. Most people know that many states offer property tax exemptions or credits for seniors above a certain age or below a certain income threshold. What most people don't know is that some states have expanded their senior property tax relief programs to include what are sometimes called circuit breaker credits, refundable tax credits that put actual cash back in your pocket if your property tax burden exceeds a certain percentage of your income. Here's where travel connects. In states including Arizona, Illinois, and Michigan, these refundable credits result in direct payments to eligible seniors, not reductions on a future bill, checks, deposits, real money that lands in your account and can be used for anything, including travel. A 77-year-old woman in Illinois hadn't visited her grandchildren in 4 years because she assumed she couldn't afford to fly. Her tax preparer mentioned the state's circuit breaker credit almost as an aside. She qualified for a refund of over $900. She booked the flight the following week. Now, I'm not a tax advisor, and I want to be clear about that, but I am telling you that a conversation with a tax preparer who knows your state's senior property tax relief programs before you file, not after, could directly fund a trip you've been putting off. Your action plan. Search for your state's name plus the words Senior Property Tax Relief Program or Circuit Breaker Credit. The AARP Foundation Tax Aid Program offers free tax preparation for seniors and specifically looks for these credits. Their website is aarp.org.taxaid, and the service is genuinely free. If you qualify and you haven't been claiming this, the back payment potential alone is worth the phone call. Here's what connects all 7 of these benefits. None of them were designed to be invisible. They were designed to help you. But somewhere between the legislation and the lived reality, the signage disappeared, the announcements stopped, the brochures never got printed, and the systems that run airports, airlines, VA facilities, and government agencies quietly kept moving, assuming you'd ask if you needed something, so ask. The master phrase that opens more doors than any other in senior travel is this one: I'm a senior traveler, and I'd like to understand what assistance is available to me. Not demanding, not confrontational, specific, calm, informed. That sentence, spoken at an airline counter, a VA facility, a Social Security office, or an airport gate, signals that you know something exists. And once they know you know, the conversation changes every single time. 7 benefits, all of them funded, all of them legal, all of them waiting for you to claim them. Now I want to hear from you. Which one of these surprised you the most? Has anyone here actually used VA travel pay or Medicare transport benefits? Have you ever said the words complaint resolution official out loud at an airport? Because I want to know how that conversation went. Drop it in the comments. Your experience is someone else's education. If this video showed you money you didn't know existed, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm,